Hello, race fans, and welcome to another edition of Before the Green Flag on GMSRacing.net. As always, I'm Justin Waffen, joined by Joey Coulter and Josh Weinrich. And this weekend, both the ARCA Racing Series and NASCAR Camping World Truck Series are both going to be at Pocono Raceway. And Joey, you've won there before, so what's it going to take for both these teams to find success there?
I mean, Pocono's always tricky. That's why they call it the Tricky Triangle. It's three different corners, and it's just a technical racetrack that you can't, any little mistake in any one corner, you've got to start over again. And I think, it's a long lap. It takes a long time to get around. So you make one mistake, your crew chief throws the clipboard in the air, and you've got to go all the way back around the track to get that speed back. So it's just challenging. And then, the truck race, the restarts are always just insane. They have been every year the trucks have been there. Fortunately in 2012, I was on the good side of it and made it out ahead. Yeah, but that's where a lot of the excitement happens. And that's where, our drivers this weekend, that's where they're going to have to make their moves under those conditions. And, later on in the day, pit stops become a big thing. Pit strategy's huge. It's just there's a lot of little challenges, and it always makes me laugh when people say Pocono's boring, because there's so many variables, there's so many things that go on. Yeah, it's a big racetrack, cars get spread out sometimes, but there's so many little things that go on that make that place as tough as it is.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are in the gas so much. It's crazy there. And one of the things that really sticks out to me, or actually the thing that does stick out to me the most about going to Pocono is pit strategy and fuel mileage and things like that. People always hate to hear about fuel mileage, but it's one of the things that you really have to be cognizant of because of the fact that it's such a long lap. It's like a 55 second lap there that, I mean, we've seen, in the Cup race last August, we've seen in ARCA races there before, guys just pulled the most ludicrous pit strategies that voluntarily give up track position and come in and pit under the green flag, which is completely backwards from how we normally do it. To where you can pit under green, not go a lap down, and if a caution comes out, you gain all that track position when everyone else has to come in and pit under yellow. So I remember the ARCA race there about 3 years ago. The winning strategy was pitting coming to a restart. I mean, where else do you hear about stuff like that? So, everyone kind of runs it like a road course because of that fact. They kind of run it backwards. It wouldn't be unheard of on Saturday to see guys pit outside their fuel window to bank on cautions to get that track position. So, I don't envy the crew chiefs whatsoever because that's a pretty hot stove to be sitting on. 30, 35 laps from the checker flag and be forced to make those tough decisions.
And we were able to catch up and get the driver's point of view. And we were able to catch up with Grant and get his thoughts of what it's going to be like to return to Pocono and get in victory lane this time.
We learned some stuff on both sides of the fence. We learned some stuff that we want to come back with, and then we definitely found some areas that we needed to work on. I feel like turn 3 was a little bit of a struggle point for us in the race. So it seemed like we could make up some speed in turns 1 and 2, but we lagged just a little bit there in 3. So we're unloading a little bit differently there this time, but we have a really good fallback plan if it doesn't work. So we had a competitive second-place car, and really we're good all day there in June.
So Grant Enfinger giving his thoughts on what it's going to take to get into victory lane this weekend. And now on the truck side, we have Austin Dillon coming on board for the 33 team. And guys, what do you see as a really immediate impact of now him being with the team?
Well, I mean, it's a perfect race, for him to come drive the truck for the first time, because he did pretty well there last year. So Austin's always been fast at Pocono. Even the few Cup starts he's had decent finishes. So it's a track that he's familiar with, he's good at in the trucks for sure. And it's any time that you can get somebody with that much experience in your stuff, regardless of how, obviously we have a stable full of great drivers, but anytime you get somebody else to come in and run a couple races like that, he's used to that Cup side. The information that's going to come out of him is going to be extremely useful. And Spencer, he's got experience there, just not a ton. And he's real good about, going and talking to the guys with more experience, and he'll definitely be able to learn a lot from Austin to better his chances this weekend.
Yeah, Pocono's kind of different because it's not one of those places where guys come into the truck series and have a whole lot of laps at that place. Spencer obviously does, making 5 ARCA starts there, but the cool thing about Austin coming in is he's got some Cup stuff under his belt. He's already been there this year on the Sprint Cup side. He won the truck race last year, and it's not like Pocono's not a Iowa or a Bristol or anything like that where guys come in having races under their belt. So I see that as a huge advantage for Spencer and those 33 guys this year, because we only go to Pocono once. The Cup guys go there twice. So the fact that he's already got a weekend under his belt there is really huge. So also it's such a huge help to have an experienced guy like Austin, who's just been on fire on the Xfinity side, winning 3 races this year. It's a huge help to have a guy with that much experience, that much seat time, and who's that fast.
Yeah.
Austin's been so fast in everything he's gotten in this year. So to have a guy like that come in and really kind of benchmark where the team's at, where the equipment's at, and everything, and that, I think it's a really good measuring stick for him to be able to come over here, not only this weekend but at Michigan and later on in New Hampshire as well.
And to get more insight for the trucks this weekend, we were able to talk to both crew chiefs for the 23 and 33 teams and kind of get their insight of all the little things that are going to be going on to kind of get them into victory lane this weekend.
Yeah, it's always been a little tricky there at Pocono with 3 different corners. I don't think I've ever been there once and had a perfect balance in all 3 corners. Straightaways don't really make a difference except for the RPM down the front stretch, a little different. We don't really shift like we used to there with the gear rules and stuff we have now, but 3 different bankings, 3 different radius corners, it can be tough. I know last year we were good through 1 in the tunnel turn, but we really struggled through 3 all day long. But once you get in traffic, it all kind of goes away when everybody's kind of got the same balance.
Well, I think anytime you can put a Cup driver in your stuff that with their experience level and the amount of seat time they get, that it's gonna elevate your program, and you're certainly gonna be able to kind of evaluate yourself as a team. So I feel like we've made a lot of gains this year at GMS Racing and with the 33 team, and I feel like we've come a long way with Brandon. From where we've started with him on our mile-and-a-half stuff. And, I think that Austin's experience is certainly going to do nothing but aid us, in furthering, our development here at GMS and for this race.
So a lot of great racing action going on this weekend. And Josh, I know we now have a new qualifying procedure for the trucks as well.
Yeah. Well, it was supposed to start at Kentucky, but thankfully we were able to get the race in there. But anyway, starting this weekend at Pocono, we're going to go back to the old system of single truck runs, which I think is pretty cool. Because these trucks, they react so differently in the draft that our stuff doesn't really play out the same way that the Xfinity stuff and the Cup guys do in qualifying. So it's going to be 2 rounds now at all racetracks, a mile and a half and larger. 1 time lap by yourself, slowest. You're going to go out slowest, fastest, and then you're still going to have to get into that top 12 to get into the pole round. So there is still that knockout element to it. So that'll keep the suspense in that first round. So and then we're going to do 1 more round of single truck qualifying. So and this race this weekend is only 60 laps, and strategy wise that's not that long, but lap wise and mileage wise it's not that long. So qualifying is going to be extremely important this weekend.
And you can also follow along with all the action by following us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at GMS Racing LLC. Also, be sure to check out gmsracing.net, where you can keep all the action, where you can see the post-race, pre-race, everything in between. And for all of us here at Before the Green Flag, thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see you next week.